This is a Bentley GT Continental Speed with two tricky dents to the front wing. I need to take the wing off, that means I have to take the door off. This is one big dent repair, but I'm going to show you how I do it from start to finish. So grab a brew and enjoy.
This Bentley had been damaged in the recent storms, where a tree branch had fallen down and hit the vehicle, creating a couple of noticeable dents. Our customer did not want this panel repairing and painting at all costs, so they asked me to repair it with the PDI methods. So let's start off with the first dent, and it's towards the rear of the panel. It's a 240mm dent, it's on a body line. It's just pushed the panel up a little bit above the body line, creating this crowned area, and the panel is aluminium as well. Access to the rear of the damage is simple, there's no stripping needed. And finally, the methods of repair. First of all, I'm going to start off with a glue pull to remove the bulk of the damage, and then I'm going to get tools in behind the damage, push it out and finish it off. To get this repair started, I'm going to be using the GPR system, or the glue pull repair system. And I want to be pulling at the top of the dent just underneath the body line, and for this I've picked a crease tab which roughly matches the depth and the size of the dent. And then using the hot glue I'm going to bond this tab to the panel and then use a slide hammer to carefully draw this dent out. From that single pull, the dent has come out quite a lot, but now I need to address the top part, which is the crown above the body line. For this, I'm using a range of tools to tap this crown down, from flat paddles to blunt knockdowns and blending hammers. Already you can see that this dent has been massively reduced, but as the panel is aluminium, it's always difficult to shock a dent out with a slide hammer. So I'm going to reattach this crease tab, only this time I'm going to be using a small bridge puller, and this works by pulling on the tab and keeping constant tension, and then I can go back to this top crown and tap it down. This will also release the tension in the main dent and help it repair. Now that the bridge has been removed, I can place another tab on there, and this is a tab specially designed for repairing aluminium panels. And I'm going to place it just in front of the crease tab. The PDI glue sticks really well, but with some isopropanol and a plastic scraper, the glue and the tabs come off very easily. There's a lot of blending and careful tweaking on this dent, using again a range of knockdowns from blunt tip to medium tips. Just a lot of tapping, getting rid of all those ripples. Now that the bulk of the damage has come out and the ripples have been laid flat, I can downsize on my glue tabs, so I'm going to be using a small crease tab this time, placing it right underneath that body line, and then using a mini lifter to carefully ease that damage up. After a quick clean with the isopropanol, straight back in there with some more crease tabs, and I'm focusing on the shallow lows or ripples. Once these are up, I can then go back in with a hammer and knockdown, and over time level this panel up. When glue pulling, it's always best to pick a tab roughly the shape of the damage. I've noticed that on this damage there's a shallow low that I need to pull out. It's about 1 inch square in diameter and a crease tab won't do it, but this tab is ideal for this part of the repair. A few more taps with the hammer and knockdown just to blend that area up, and then I'm ready for the bars. Time to get the PDI tools behind this dent and finish it off. And to gain access, I'm just going to peel back the wheel arch liner, and then I can slide the PDI tool up between the panel and then lift the dent out. If you watch the reflection of those lines carefully, you will see where I'm pushing, I need to make sure that each one of those lines is perfect on a reflection, with no dimples, dips, high marks. Once these are gone, that means that the repair is finished. I'm happy with the repair so far below the bodyline, but I need to tidy up this top part where the crown was. So I'm going to be using a super sharp knockdown. This is a polished metal tip, and I just need to go very carefully, picking out those very small high imperfections. And there we have it. That is the first dent completed. I'm very happy with how it repaired. All things considered, it was quite difficult with it being an aluminium panel. The second dent is at the front part of the wing, and I need to find access. So I'm going to lift the bonnet up first and just see if there's any holes there, but obviously there isn't, because there's a massive engine in there, and that is a 6 litre W12 engine. Wow, what a beast. With the vehicle raised to a nice working height, I can look and inspect the wheel arch liner, locating all the screws and clips without needing to take off the wheel. And holding this wheel arch in, there's quite a few torque screws. Once this arch liner has been removed, I can then get a torch and look inside this wing panel into the voids and just see if it's possible to access the rear of this dent, but it does look quite tight up there. You might be able to make out the dent from the shadow where my finger is. Although the access is quite reasonable, it's not good for this kind of repair, so I'm guessing I'm going to need to take the wing off to repair this dent. Taking the wing off does sound extreme, but I need to remove a headlight so I can gain access to the dent. But to take the headlight out, I need to take the wing off, and that also means I've got to remove the grille, parts of the bumper, and possibly a sill cover. So the first thing to be removed is the grille, and this is held on with a number of torque screws. Once the top screws have been removed, I need to get underneath the grille, so I need to take out the grille mesh from the bumper, and this will then reveal 2 extra torque screws. Once all these fixings have been removed, the grille will pull off nice and easily, and then I just need to disconnect the parking sensors. The next part I need to remove is the tops of the bumpers, and these torque screws are in quite a difficult area to reach. So I noticed that when I removed this screw, it had a coarse thread, but then when I removed the screw from the top part, it had a fine thread. Now when it comes to refitting the vehicle up, we need to get these screws in the right place, and to do this, what I do is I put all my screws onto a piece of cardboard like this. This means that all the screws will go back in order. I draw a little diagram so I know exactly where each screw goes, and it just saves a lot of hassle and rummaging around in a box full of different sized nuts and bolts. And that's all the screws and fixings in order for the front part of the car. The next area of the strip down process is the bumper to wing corner. This is held in with a couple of other torque screws, and there's also a bumper bracket which needs removing. This wheel needs to come off. I was hoping not to remove it, but I need to so I can get to the back part of the wing where the sill is. These wheel nut caps need to be removed, but the supplied pick you get with the toolkit isn't very good and it's likely to scratch the alloy. So what I've done is I've glued a few glue tabs onto these plastic caps and then nice and gently just pull them off with a slide hammer. It's really difficult not to get distracted when you're working on a car like this. I mean, look at those brakes, carbon ceramics, and they are massive. Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, the back part of this wing. It's a bit dirty in there from all the leaves and the debris from driving on the roads, but there's a couple of torque screws in there and also a 10mm nut which needs removing, and then this part of the wing is totally free to remove. And these 2 torque screws, I didn't see them until the last minute. Again, just by drawing a diagram on the cardboard, I can see where these screws will go when I come to refit it. So there is about 4 screws that are hiding in the door shut, and I cannot access these unless I remove the door. But before I disconnect any electrics, I need to lower the window down, and this is a laminated pane of glass, not toughened like in most vehicles. So once the window has been lowered down, I can put 2 rags on top of the door, and then I can adjust my door removal jig. Hiding behind this rubber bung are 2 M8 spline drive bolts. These need to be undone so you can remove the check strap from the A-pillar. It's a bit tight in there to access with most tools, plus I don't want to drop these bolts into the A-pillar, so instead I'm using a spanner on the end of the spline drive. The hinges are held in place with a 13mm nut, so you need a 13mm socket and a ratchet to remove these. And then the last thing to remove this door is to disconnect the electrics. The interior trim just pulls away nice and easily, it's on Volkswagen spring clips, and then just undo the 2 electrical connectors, feed them through the A-post, and then the door is ready to come off the vehicle. Now that the door has been removed, I can get to these 4 torque screws that hold the back of the wing in place, and then drawing a diagram on the cardboard I can put these bolts in order so I know which way they go when I refit the wing. The last area holding this wing in place is on the top. I've left the top bolts till last because I want to keep the panel firmly in place until I'm ready to lift it off the car. Now it's time to tape up the bumper, sill and the A-post and then remove this wing. The headlamp is surprisingly easy to remove. It's only held in with 4 Torx bolts, and then disconnecting the electrical connector and the headlamp washer pipe, and that's it, comes away nice and easy. Let's take a quick look at the damage on the wing, and that crease is super sharp. And I'll be honest with you, I really didn't think that I'd be able to save this dent, but I had to make it work because look at that car, I've absolutely ripped it to bits for this. So I have to make this a successful repair. The headlight is now removed, so I can pop the wing back on, secure it to the car, and then I'm ready to carry out this second dent repair. Okay, we're going to jump back in time for a few seconds and look at this damage before I start stripping the vehicle. Let's take a look at this crease in a bit more detail. So the second dent is again on an aluminium panel. It's a 260mm dent, super sharp crease, and it's a very complex repair. Accessing the damage from behind was very restricted, but now all the parts are removed, I have very good unrestricted movement with my tools. And finally, the method of repair, well, this is certainly not a glue pull repair. I'll be using PDR tools, long bars with a lot of leverage, ultra sharp tips for precision and shrinking. Warming the panel up with a heat gun will give me a better chance of saving this crease dent. But I need to keep the temperature in this panel because working on a dent like this on a thick aluminium panel such as this one is a lot harder than repairing the same kind of dent on a steel panel. After the first few pushes, it was quite difficult to see my tip, so I was changing from the fog board to the line board just to see what gave me the better reflection. And I also decided to start at the back of this dent where it was less of a crease, just so I could get used to pushing this crease out and then carefully working my way back to myself to the deepest part. So throughout this video, you will have already heard me saying that aluminium is harder to repair than steel. Well, aluminium is unlike steel in that it doesn't have a memory or the desire to return to its original shape once it's damaged. It will want to remain in its damaged state, so I'll need to apply different techniques to assist in returning this panel to its original state. And that's why I'm using sharp tools and tips to push this panel up, but also to shrink it as well and make sure it stays in the place where I want it to go. Lots and lots of heat, and here we go, going back in there with another sharp tipped bar. And you'll have also seen me filling up that headlight void with a few wooden blocks. This is so I can make a better leverage point. I'm nearly at the deepest part of this dent now, and that crease has already been very tough to repair. I've levelled it up, so now I'm going in with more sharp tools and hopefully try and lift up that centre nice and clean. And here we are, about 90% done. This has taken about 5 or 6 hours to get to this stage. You can still see there's a definite ripple there, but that centre of the dent has finally come up. So I'm very happy with my progress so far. At this point of the repair, I'm just eliminating all those small highs, all those little ripples, and just trying to blend it out as much as I can. And also using a super sharp pick to lift up those shallow lows. There's various curves and shapes to this wing, and luckily that crease dent has not stretched. That means that the panel or the damaged area is not going to dip down over time. It's nice and solid. That's just how I want it. And again, after another couple of hours of fine tuning, I got to a point where I could lightly nib down the area. I sanded down a very thin layer of the lacquered surface, and then I polished the area up with an adaptive cutting compound. From the many hours of me working on this panel and reshaping that area, I've made hundreds and hundreds of small push marks. Each one of these have bitten into the aluminium, which has helped me shrink this dent and also strengthen it, but this needs to be recoated, so I need to clean the area up and I need to reapply an e-coat, and this will help prevent any future corrosion. Once the e-coat had dried, I also put some wax on there too, just to give it an added barrier. And then it was time to refit the headlight and the wing. Once all the bolts had been put into the wing and everything had been lined up, the next job was to refit the door. But first I taped up the rear of the wing and also the sill to prevent any scratches or chips to the panels, and then I rolled the door into place and lined it up with the car, pushed the electrics through the hole, lower the door back onto the hinges and then tighten everything up. The next job that I had to do was refit the arch liner, and this was a lot easier to do this time with the wheel out of the way, but it was quite a dusty job. And then the final part, and the most important one, was to refit the front alloy wheel. When you remove any wheel off a vehicle, you have to re-torque it up. So using the factory torque settings in the handbook, the wheel bolts need to be torqued up to 145 Newton meters or 107 foot-pounds. And that is the Bentley all fitted back up and looking great. I was extremely proud of the repairs that I'd just done to this Bentley, and I wanted this car to look amazing so that when the customer came to pick it up, he could put the roof down, drive away with a massive smile on his face. So I gave this car a really good rinse off, cleaned it, dried it off, hoovered the inside of the vehicle out, and then I also applied some GT Shine quick ceramic spray to the front wing that I'd just repaired. And this spray will create a strong ceramic coating with a deep shine. It's quick and very easy to apply, and it repels water, bug splatters and bird droppings. Here are the finished repairs, and wow, looking at the before and the afters, that is one transformation. I hope you enjoy this part, and if you have any questions about any part of the repair, feel free to leave any questions in the comments below.
Okay, thanks for watching till the end, I really appreciate it. That is the Bentley, totally fixed, polished, hoovered out and ready for a customer. See you in the next video and cheers.